Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am making two appetizers with brie and two types of fruit. Watermelon brie bite and a raspberry baked brie bite, which are the perfect appetizers for summer. Come cook with me. Before you come cook with me, make sure you like this video, comment on it, share it, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you can come cook with me again. I know it's a lot, but all you gotta do is click, 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 dit, 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 and you're done. Okay, so today I am making an appetizer two ways with brie. I was out shopping the other day and I found a big wheel of brie. It was on sale, which I love brie. A lot of my friends love brie, so I decided to do two recipes today. One a little bit fresh with some watermelon, arugula, and some balsamic glaze, and one baked. Also, it's one of my favorite recipes because it is actually a picture that I had printed for my kitchen wall decor. So when you see these pictures, it's all food that I made. So it is pretty popular. I like to say it's pretty popular, but it is popular. So it's one of those up there, and it's a great appetizer for you to make for your friends, your family, even for yourself. It's a great little lunch, little snacky snack. So it's a great thing to make. So the first thing we'll do is our watermelon. So I have a story, and I'm sure the editor will be like, story time. So when I worked at the country club when I was younger, we used to cut a lot of fruit for the buffets and for Sunday brunches and all that. So I have a really good tip in cutting fruit in an efficient and safe way. Again, our knife. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut off the bottom of the watermelon to have a flat surface. You're also gonna cut off the other end. And I'm cutting a little bit more off the top than usual because I need it for our final photo. So I'm just going to use that. How pretty. Put this to the side so I can use it. This you can dump. All right, so now we have flat surfaces to work on with our watermelon. Trick to this is you're going to follow the curvature of the melon and just guide your knife around. I'm sure there's other techniques that you can use, but this is one that has worked well with me, for me, with me, by me. And you just go and you cut off that white part, which is typically called the pith of like lemons and oranges, grapefruits, any kind of citrus or fruit, that outer membrane of the fruit. So you continue to go along. Rather simple once you get the hang of it. And then I go along, and sometimes I miss the bottoms because we're everyday cooks and it happens. So I like to go along and just make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope, we're good. And so then with this, you're actually going to cut slices. So 1, and these are about 1/2 inch. 2, 3, and again, we're not in a rush, so take your time. And for this, I do kind of want to try and be precise because this is an appetizer where we're building little bites on sticks. So, and again, turn this that way. I'll do the same for this little guy. Awesome. So now we have our little watermelon steaks. And then with each one, move these to the side. I'm going to cut little bites, little squares. And some gets wasted, so you could make definitely a like watermelon mojito. You can just eat it if you want. See? And you have perfect little bite-sized watermelon chunks. So I'm going to continue to do this, and by the magic of editing, we'll be right back. We're back. So what I forgot to mention before we started cutting up our watermelon is to preheat the oven for our other appetizer. So that's going to go to 375. Bake. So we'll have that preheating while we make our fresh appetizer, and then we'll get into our baked one. Okay. So now that I have our watermelon cut up into little cubes, I also have some fresh arugula, I have some balsamic glaze, and then I also have some toothpicks. You can use any kind of toothpick, but I kind of wanted to mimic the picture that I have up there and actually found the same toothpicks from that picture. So I'm kind of glad that that's nostalgic for me. And then also to our Brie. Now I've had the Brie in our refrigerator while I've been prepping our other ingredients so it doesn't get too warm. With Brie being a soft cheese, you want to keep it as cold for as long as possible, so that way it's easier to cut. So I'm going to grab that. I did not forget mise en place, mise en place. All right. So I have this Brie cheese. It's a big wheel of Brie. I love Brie. I actually wrap this in puff pastry with some honey and some pecans, and then serve that as an appetizer too. That's really good. But this watermelon Brie bite is the perfect kind of summer treat. So we have our Brie. It smells so good. So I'm actually going to, how did I do this last time? Yes, okay. It's been a while since I've made this, so I had to remember what I was doing. So then you're just going to cut little planks of Brie, not too thick. And you almost want them the same thickness, width as the watermelon. So keep that in mind because it's actually going to sit on top of the watermelon. So we're going to make that, put this Brie aside for our other appetizer. And then just as a guide, I'm going to use my little watermelon bite as a reference. And we're just going to, and this doesn't have to be perfect. It can be rustic if you want. I'm just trying to show you guys a process and you can modify it to however works best for you. All right, so I got the generalized width that I need. So basically cut these in half, cut those in half. Maggie smelled cheese, so she's right there. Hey, Mags. You can't have this. You can't have this cheese. You can't have this, Mags. You can't have this. All right, and this cheese does stick, so be mindful. That's why you kind of want to work quickly with it because it does stick and it gets soft easy. That's why I kind of have it spread out so far on my cutting board because it does get warm fast and sticks. Okay, so now that we have our Brie cut up, our watermelon cut up, the arugula was already pre-washed, so that's easy. So 1, 2, 3, 4 ingredients for a great little appetizer. It's happening, guys. It's happening. So I'm gonna move my knife to the side, and I have my little platter. And the great thing is you can assemble these on the dish you're going to serve it on. So that's also nice. You don't have to transfer these to a different platter every time you make these. So we're going to line up. Okay, let's count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll just figure out how many we have. Make it nice and pretty. I think everything looks better in odd rows and numbers. Not that it has to be, but okay, hopefully I have enough cheese. Okay, so before we put the Brie on the watermelon, we're actually going to put a little piece of arugula on each. And it's okay that it hangs off. The reason I do arugula is because it's kind of peppery. It's a peppery herb. And so it adds a nice kind of note with the sweet watermelon, the tangy Brie. Actually, that's a big one, so we'll do that there. You can even fold the leaves in half if you want. Up to you. And Maggie is drinking her water in the background if you can't hear it, so thank you, Mags. The pleasures of filming in your own kitchen. I think she's doing it on purpose because she knows she can't get any cheese today. All right. Some of these arugula leaves are nice and big, which is nice. And this is a good appetizer to make in advance of your party. They can sit in the fridge. It doesn't dry out for the most part. And keeping it cold is really nice because that kind of gives that refreshing bite, especially cold watermelon on a hot day. It sounds really good. Okay, so I have our arugula and watermelon that you can see here. Now we're going to put our Brie. So the Brie kind of acts as a glue for the arugula. Whoops. So put that there, just put them right on top. Look how easy this is. You can prep all this in advance. You can put them in little containers for the day before, and then just assemble right before the party. It's fairly quick to do. See, look, we made 2, 4, 6. We made 25 appetizers in just a couple minutes. So put that to the side. We can actually use these for our other appetizer that we're going to make. Kind of shingle those there. Bring this over. Look how pretty this is. So we have our watermelon, arugula, and brie. And then I just take a little bit of balsamic glaze. You can do this on the tray that they're being served on. And I just like to hold high. Test it out a little bit. Okay, there you go. And just go back and forth with little ribbons. Not a lot, just a little bit. So that's done. And then if you want to, I love salt and pepper. You can do a little bit of pepper to kind of enhance the flavor of the arugula being peppery. Just a tad. You don't want a big bite of pepper, and then maybe just a little salt to bring out the brie notes. And again, hold your seasoning up high so you can get a uniform distribution of your seasonings. That's another chefy tip. All right, and now that those are done, we just stick a pick in them. It's the perfect little appetizer. Kind of holds everything in place. It's pretty too. It's a really pretty dish with the red of the watermelon, the brie cheese, the green of the arugula. This one guy does not want to be part of the party. Stay. Okay. And there you go. Perfect little appetizer, watermelon, arugula, brie bites. Now we're going to make our second appetizer, which is baked. We'll be right back. Hey guys, and we are back to make our second brie appetizer. I have the watermelon, arugula, brie bites in the refrigerator, keeping cold while we make this baked appetizer. The oven is on 375, preheated 375. I do have a sheet tray, and it is now preheated to 375. I have a sheet tray, and also for the recipe, I have a silicone mat. This is a great investment that I recommend for professional cooks and everyday cooks. It's a great way to prevent things from sticking it in the oven with sweet, savory. I even bake chicken on it. It's very versatile. So if you want to invest in a silicone mat for your tray, it's reusable, so you're not using a lot of foil or getting things stuck to your actual baking pan. So it's a great little chefy, not chefy tip, chefy tool. That's what I was looking for. So we're gonna put this aside. I have our brie ready. I also have some fresh raspberries. You can use strawberries, you can use blackberries. I was gonna say blueberries, but I don't think so. So I have raspberries. I also have puff pastry that was frozen. I did not make this. This is our store shortcut. I made puff pastry once many years ago, and I just buy the stuff because it's just too much work. Unless you know how to laminate the dough with butter, laminate's a fancy term of creating all those layers that make puff pastry very flaky. We don't have time for that. So I bought it. I let it sit in the refrigerator overnight because it does come frozen. So now it's soft and pliable. So it comes with 2 sheets. The first sheet I'm actually going to roll out just slightly because it is very flaky and I don't need that much puff to the puff pastry. Again, being mindful of your knife and your cutting spaces. Just going to roll this out just a little bit. You might need a little bit of flour, but not much. This already comes kind of pre-floured in a sense. And then with this, it has 3 sections when you unfold it. So I'm going to stay true to that kind of formula. There. And then with these guys, I am going to cut it. How am I going to cut this? In thirds. We're going to do thirds. because we're going to kind of pinch these together. So we're going to make little rectangles. Cut those in half and cut those in thirds. And I'm creating this recipe today because a very good friend of mine always has the pre-made frozen versions of these. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and make these. So this kind of is a little experiment for me as well to see how they will turn out. But we're everyday cooks and sometimes you just have to go on the adventure. So we have that. And then we have our second set of puff pastry. And again, you can make these in advance, keep them in the fridge until it's ready for them to bake. See, a little chefy tip, baker tip that I learned when using a rolling pin, just apply even pressure throughout, not pressing too firm, and then you'll get even results. So I'm barely even pressing on this rolling pin, but it's doing what it needs to do. Thank you, Mr. Rolling Pin. Did your job well. Okay. So cut these guys out, cut these guys. This creates a good amount of appetizers as well. Typically, when I was in the culinary world with restaurants or when I catered a party, typically 2 or 3 appetizers per person is a good number. So when you are creating appetizers for just a regular occasion or a special occasion, if you have multiples, just know that each person is going to eat about 2 or 3. So that's kind of what I like to keep in mind when I am making appetizers, is keeping that ratio in mind so then nobody doesn't get one. Doesn't not get one. Wait. To make sure everybody gets an appetizer. See, we got there. We're everyday cooks. Okay, so we're back to our wheel of brie that we had. We're going to cut them again in planks to go along with our sizes. Okay, should have enough brie, but I'm going to cut this little guy off. Save him for later with my watermelon. All right, and so we're going to cut these again in our same sizes. Again, keeping the brie cold while you prep is a good idea because it does get soft and sticks together just like that little log. Okay. So our brie's cut, our pastry's cut, put this knife to the side, and we have our raspberries and our salt and pepper. So I am going to, might need our offset spatula, put a little piece of brie here, little piece of raspberry, and then I'm actually going to try and tuck these guys like that. Almost like a little boat. A little boat with a raspberry on it. A little boat with a raspberry on it. Don't knock my singing. I don't claim to be a singer. And you can actually do this in a miniature muffin tin. I was thinking about doing that, but I know that a lot of people sometimes don't even have a muffin tin. So I was like, you know what could be a way to introduce these little brie bites without having all the fancy gadgets, because we are everyday cooks. I don't have a ton of equipment here. Our studio, aka home kitchen. So these, it's very rustic. I like this. It's not a lot of work. It's not perfect. These will puff up. So kind of spread them a little bit apart. Just like how they're rustic. A little fresh raspberry. The tangy raspberry, the bite of the brie. I'm going to add salt and pepper to these guys for a little bit of seasoning. Once you get everything prepped, you can just make a little assembly line. I think these are going to turn out great. And these will go in the oven for about 15-ish minutes, golden brown, depending on how your oven is calibrated. Ovens do have different temperatures, even though they are the same temperature in the setting, so you just have to be mindful of that. We will just continue to make these little brie bites, little brie babies. I know the brie's going to eke out of these just a little bit, but kind of pressing the puff pastry around the brie and the raspberry. The great thing about the silicone mat is a lot of these appetizers won't stick to the pan, so they're easy to remove. Okay, salt up high, salt and pepper. A little bit of salt. Oops, and remember my last rule in my last video, do the salt before you do the pepper because it gets the pepper and the salt. Everyday cooks, James. Listen to your own rules. So we're gonna put these in the oven for about 15-18 minutes and we'll be back. All right, so we're back. I was just grabbing some oven mitts to get our Brie bites out of the oven. They've been there about 15 minutes. I actually did turn on the broiler on high, just to get a little crispy, rispy moments, to get a little bit more golden brown. Some more brown than others. Still good to me. And this is hot. And some of our raspberries did kind of move. They kind of went over to their neighbor, so I'm gonna grab an offset spatula. Or you can use a knife, but I'm just gonna put those little raspberries back on those little bites where they belong. And they are soft, which is nice. Put that there. Somebody's really just did not want to be part of this project today. These little guys back on. Come on, raspberry. Get back in your place. The raspberries do put off just a little bit of moisture. So these are not, they're crispy, but they're soft at the same time because the Brie is so gooey and ooey. And then the raspberries release their little great juices. This is a nice little appetizer. And it's okay that the Brie kind of spilled off. I actually like it because it crisps up a little bit like a Parmesan crisp. We're just going to separate these a little bit, let them cool down for sure before we attempt to eat one of these little suckers. All right. And that's nice about this Silpat mat is because they're not sticking and it's less mess to clean up. Because I'm also the dish person when it comes to our channel. So less dishes for me. It's a plus. And also with the Silpat mat, you don't want to use a knife on it because it can cut the mat. So that's why I like to use a little spatula to kind of break up the things. All right, I'm going to take him because he looks good. So we have a little watermelon. I'm sorry, Brie raspberry bite. We have our Brie raspberry bites. Cooling, Brie raspberry bites, Brie raspberry bites. How many times can you say that right? Brie raspberry bites. So that's that. We have this. We have our watermelon Brie bites in the fridge that we've been hanging out. Have a little platter for these, and these actually have cooled down pretty quickly. I mean, hey Mags, you can't have this. I'll let you know when you can have something, okay? I'll let you know when you can have something. Yum. Yum. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, so that's that. That's still hot. I actually want to make like a little... I like to juice things up for my appetizer, so I'll be right back. It's all about the presentation. I have a little martini glass I'm going to use to put some of my raspberries in. I like to feature the ingredients of my appetizers. I'm actually going to put some arugula because I have extra. And then a couple of raspberries so that you can see. Awesome. And I'm actually going to move this to the middle of the presentation to kind of oomph that up. Doesn't that look a little bit more special? I think so. Move this to the side. We have this. We have our little raspberry bite that I'm going to eat for me. And we have our watermelon Brie bites. Yum! Okay, now we're going to taste test. So I have the puff pastry, the Brie, the raspberry, a little salt, pepper. You get the tartness from the raspberry, the brie cheese, puff pastry, a little bit of crunch, really good. Yum. And then we have our watermelon brie bite. So watermelon brie, arugula, balsamic glaze. That's why it's up there on my wall of recipes, because this is a good, perfect appetizers for any party. Come cook with me again. I'm gonna have another one. That was really good.